So normally I start these videos out just with a voiceover, and I don't talk about my process at all because I find while I'm drawing I get tired of myself talking and all I want to do is just draw and listen to podcasts or watch videos. But since this one is my little Krampus one, I thought I'd just say a couple of things. So first of all, thank you for everyone who has been supporting me. I've noticed that my YouTube, although I very rarely update, you guys have been really friendly and kind, and my viewership has been going up, and I hope that I can keep finding a way to streamline the video making process so that I can keep fitting it around my day job and creating art so that I can, I don't know, maybe get this big enough that it's fun to watch for you guys now and then. And not that I don't think you're having fun watching me now, but you know what I mean. Like on a regular schedule instead of just when I have time to make a video. So I wanted to do my Krampus today. It started snowing, which was really nice because all of Christmas Day, spoiler alert, this is Boxing Day that I'm actually doing my Krampus, but it's not Christmas isn't over until I say it's over, so but Christmas Day I worked and then it rained all day and all our snow went away, but it started snowing today while I was getting ready to paint my Krampus, so I was pretty happy about that. So I've got some Christmas cookies, I've got some holiday cheer, I've got my Krampus sketches, one of these from work because I've been really wanting to paint my Krampus, and I hope you enjoy watching me paint a Krampus, and thanks so much for being here. Alright, let's get painting. Stop being sappy. So I designed my Krampus actually fairly early in the month. The issue I just kept running into is I just didn't have time to work on it. December was surprisingly both too busy and not busy enough in the ways I wanted, I guess. So at work, I was picking up a lot of shifts at my day job, so I wasn't able to spend as much time on art, and a lot of those shifts ended up being evening shifts, which, because I live in the northern hemisphere, this time of year there's not a lot of daylight, so even with getting up in time for there to be daylight to draw or paint with, I wasn't getting a lot of time to also get ready for work. And because of what's going on around the world, a lot of my spare time wasn't able to be spent doing the normal things I would do to prepare for Christmas. So I just sort of spent the month working and not being able to do much else. But as we got closer to the end, in the last weeks of December, I was able to put aside more time for the things I wanted to do, which was nice. I gave myself some time off of work knowing that this would happen, and I was able to watch Christmas movies and do a bunch of Christmas baking and go drop off cookies at my friend's house, which, as you can see, I got cookies back and I decided to eat them while I painted, although I got so far and realized I was just going to give myself a stomach ache, so I stopped eating cookies. But originally my idea for the Krampus, you could see on my sketch pages from before if you wanted to back up and pause on that screen, or if you've seen it on my Instagram. I do have the sketch page posted on my Instagram. I was kind of going through a few different designs. Part of me wanted to make him more like a big, beefy, friendly looking dude instead of the general kind of creepy Krampus that people are used to. And then I tried a few different designs with different goat heads, and then I think I just drew one kind of silly looking skull head because I was searching up goat skulls and sheep skulls, and I really liked how that turned out. And then as I kind of fleshed that out, not literally because it's a skull, as I kind of followed that through and drew some more studies with the goat head skull face thing, trying different angles and how I wanted to simplify the shapes and make them a little more exaggerated. I thought of a really fun idea that I wanted to do, which was to make to still make him the red and green Christmassy colors and just find a way to kind of mask the green a little bit. So you can see in the sketch on the little yellow notepad there, when I was at work, I was thinking this through, oh, where can I put some red? Where can I put some green? And I basically used a green and a pink highlighter to do the work for me. And I changed a little bit to this one. I do miss some of the stuff I lost in transferring the sketch onto the final illustration. I really like in my work doodle how like long and gangly his arms look, and I like his smaller head and kind of short stumpy legs, but that's fine. It still worked out. And the whole time I was working on this, it just kept snowing. It was really nice. I was very happy with the snowfall, since even again since then it rained and took away all the snow again, and then I got another small snowfall. Usually by now we're under a few feet of snow. Like, it's very strange for us to not have a full blanket of snow and like consistently minus 10 Celsius temperatures and below. Like, it's been a very strange warm December. But yeah, so I decided I still wanted to stick with that bright red skull. I thought that was kind of neat, and I knew I had that metallic paints from Jasmine Faye art that I had gotten her Halloween set. So I had it's O Positive is the name of the metallic paint I use later on, and I just used my red beam paints basically as is. I think I maybe muddied them a little bit to put them underneath as like a base layer. I liked the idea of having that down in case, so that I could go as sheer as I wanted to with the metallic coat, essentially. So I could either thicken it up and make it really, really shiny, or kind of thin it out and make it a little more layered. So I decided anything that had bones was going to have that bright red color. I thought that would be fun. I ended up switching the ends of the hands from being a red undertone. You'll see this later. I put down a little bit of green, because when I did the sketch at work, the red hands were far away from the red face, so it was like adding the color into other spots that would make it match, kinda. Or not match, I guess keeping the color theme without having just big blocks of the same color in the same space. But because I put his hands up top holding onto the sack, I knew if I put the red there, it wouldn't stand out the way I wanted it to. It wouldn't, it would just sort of muddy together with the skull and the little neck bones. So I decided to just stick with green. I also did a green wash under all of the brown, or at least as much as I could. I ran out at the end, which you'll see, so I just sort of feathered it out as best I could. I was not interested in mixing a whole other little pan of super pale green just for the last little bit of his legs. I figured he'd be fine. So yeah, I stuck with the nice little dainty legs. I like that. And then the big chunky hands. I really like that too. I also gave him bigger horns because I thought that was just a little more interesting. And I thought it would take up the space a little bit better on the 4x6 card than doing short stumpy horns would. Like I had done in some of the previous illustrations, or sketches I should say, which you can see there. And when I was mixing the brown, usually I started mixing the brown by mixing all of my beam paints together, but I was getting it was a little too red and not quite dirty enough. I'm not formally trained, so I don't know exactly what the term I'm looking for is, but like a muddy, dirty, just, you know, like more neutral, I guess, brown. It's still like a very, I had that green underneath it, so I knew it was going to come across a little bit green toned, so I didn't want it to be super red. I think that was the issue I was having. So I ended up adding just some of the random leftover paint from my palette in. So there was like some brown, I think, from one of my brush pens, and then I think a little bit of black from another illustration. So I just sort of used up the paints in my palette to get that muddy color, so that when I laid it down over the green, it wouldn't be so red, and then maybe negate that kind of green tone I wanted to add to. This random brown of random colors laid down really nicely, and I think it's because it had that brown water brush pen in, which I think is like a watercolor ink almost, so it lays down really nice. But as a result of how nice it laid down, I ended up getting this like nice kind of variance of tone without even really having to try. There's a trick, just if you get good quality paint, sometimes they do things for you that you want and you didn't even know it. The sack wasn't anything too exciting. I figured I could put two little patches, and I brought the green and the red back in that because I thought that was, you know, a nice way to tie the colors back together. And I did have to mix a new green. But most of this is all beam paints with some random leftovers from my palette, and at the end you'll see some metallics from Jasmine Faye. So it wasn't it's pretty much a limited palette of like red, green, and brown. But I think it turned out pretty cool.
So the only issue I had at all with that brown tone was because that watercolor brush that I'm pretty sure was the brown I picked up was not, it's like easily water dissolvable. You could sometimes around where like the hands when I was painting the green layer on top and in underneath the mask where I was trying to darken up that brown, it was lifting if I wasn't careful. So I had to be really gentle there. But I was able to add in like some tones, the little fur textures. Those didn't do too much damage. And then I went back in and you saw there I painted with that O Positive from Jasmine Faye's little Halloween palette. I do believe she was thinking about selling individual pans instead of doing full palettes. So I'll put a link down below to her social media. I think her Ko-fi is where you can possibly buy what she has left now, and I think if she's going to sell in the future she's probably going to put it there. But I kept some of that metallic paint. I just thinned it out a little bit more for this like colored haze behind him. I was going to originally do a bunch of little details, but he took up so much of the frame that I figured simpler was better, and I would be less angry with messing up if I went with simple, so simple it was. I also decided to go in once everything was dry with a white gel pen and kind of add some details like the stitching. I hadn't let the background dry, so I had to kind of wait on that, but I like taking, it's just a jelly roll pen, really simple. I like taking those and adding little details. It's a fun way to just add on when you're all done, to kind of tie things together. And then I kind of went back. I still wanted to do some sort of little details in the background, so I decided to do little dots and stars. I have my white jelly roll pen, and I have a silver and a copper, and I think another color as well, but I only picked out the three, the silver, the copper, and the white, and just added little sparkles and dots and circles all around him and his little sack of, well, I guess it's a Krampus, so it's a sack of children. But don't think about that too much. They're all bad kids, so it's fine. It's fine. They'll just, learn to be good kids next year. So yeah, I went in and just did these little copper and silver, added the little sparklies, little dots, things like that to kind of give the background a little bit more interest. It's basically my cheap way of finishing a piece without having to work any harder. Work smart, not hard. Yeah, so all in all, I really enjoyed my little Krampus. I think if I painted him again, there's things I probably would change, but I think it turned out good either way. I still really like it. I hope you really like my Krampus. He's pretty cool. I love the Krampus. And yeah, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and holidays, whatever you celebrate. It's January 1st today for me, so I hope you have a great new year, and I hope 2021 brings you at least some of the stuff you'd like. Thanks. Bye.